Taiwan's political conflicts have intensified so much that the head of the American Institute in Taiwan, the de facto United States ambassador, urged them to stop fighting. Today, we'll examine the conflict between Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties, and also discuss Taiwan's protest against Korea. Let's begin. Before we begin, we should review Taiwan's political situation. On October 18th, pro-China former legislator Zhang Li-wan was elected as Kuomintang chairman in Taiwan with 65,122 votes out of 129,867, 50.15%, becoming the party's 12th chairman. The main issue is this person is strongly pro-China. Zhang Li-wan, the chairman, supports the One China policy and consistently urges China-Taiwan reconciliation and cooperation. In December, Taiwanese media like Liberty Times reported that Chairman Zhang Li-wan might meet Chairman Xi Jinping early next year. Zhang Li-wan and Xi Jinping, both chairmen, will meet for talks around next year's Lunar New Year. In fact, Song Tao, the head of China's Taiwan Affairs Office under the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, met with Xiao Shichen, the vice chairman of the Kuomintang in Tianjin, China, on October 28. At that time, Zhang Li-wan, the chairman, presented three preconditions for the meeting with Xi Jinping, the chairman, and the three conditions proposed by China were as follows. The three conditions were opposition to the National Defense Budget Bill, halting procedures under the national security law that discriminate against Chinese spouses and restrict mainland Chinese business and investment, and proposing concrete plans for systemic reform toward unification with China. Local reports in Taiwan say the Kuomintang sent Vice Chairman Zhang Longgang to Xi after reviewing China's proposals. On November 14, they met privately in Shanghai, China, and agreed to meet again during Lunar New Year. China demanded Taiwan scrap its self-defense bill aimed at reducing Chinese influence, and the Kuomintang of China agreed. Zheng Li Yuan Chuseok has consistently welcomed the idea of meeting with Xi Jinping Chuseok. He stressed that for cross-strait peace and Taiwan's stability, the Kuomintang would take full responsibility. Later, China demanded opposition to the National Defense Budget Bill, and the Kuomintang took steps to meet this demand. Taiwan will greatly boost its defense budget due to China's military threats. So, they prepared a special defense budget of 58 trillion won. The Kuomintang started to oppose this, right? The Kuomintang claimed this special defense budget raised the risk of war between the two sides. The Kuomintang said a shortage of professionals to operate advanced equipment can't be fixed with money. They argued improving soldier treatment should be the priority and that spending about 5% of gross domestic product on defense with the special budget is excessive. But the Democratic Progressive Party and the military insisted the special defense budget is necessary. Researcher Suju Wan from the Institute for National Defense and Security Research, a think tank under Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense, said that China is constantly deploying 5 to 6 warships equipped with cruise missiles around Taiwan and has reiterated the need to strengthen countermeasures. A major part of this special defense budget is a missile defense system like Iron Dome. Since China could strike Taiwan in 3 minutes if war starts, such a system is seen as essential. President Lai Ching-te said at a national security meeting that the Ministry of National Defense has finished a special ordinance and budget to boost defense resilience and asymmetric capabilities. He announced a defense investment of 58 trillion won over 8 years. However, despite this, the Kuomintang continued to oppose it. They maintain a critical stance, arguing that increasing the defense budget will only heighten tensions in the Taiwan Strait. In response, Zheng Lixian criticized President Lai Ching-te's plan, saying it was playing with fire, and that, at this rate, Taiwan could become a powder keg. He also criticized the Taiwanese government, pointing out that the current situation in Taiwan is one where the ruling party is in the minority. Of 113 seats, the Democratic Progressive Party holds 51, Kuomintang 52, Taiwan People's Party 8 and 2 are independents. Without the Kuomintang's help, they can't pass the defense budget. The ruling and opposition parties in Taiwan keep clashing, and perhaps the most important thing, Taiwan's defense budget is being neglected while they just engage in political strife. As a result, the United States has intervened. The United States ambassador, director of the American Institute in Taiwan's Taipei office, called for unity among Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties. The American Institute in Taiwan's Taipei director called Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's 5.8 trillion won defense budget bill an important first step for peace through deterrence. He stressed this aims to address the military balance across the Taiwan Strait, saying a weak Taiwan can't foster dialogue, and seemed to reject Kuomintang's statements. He warned that weaker military strength increases the risk of conflict. He also stated that many countries around the world, including South Korea and Japan, are significantly increasing their defense spending, and that Taiwan should follow this trend as well. It's rare for the American Institute and Taiwan's Taipei director to urge political unity. Does this show the conflict between Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties is that serious? However, Kuomintang chairman Zheng Li-yuan continues attacking the Democratic Progressive Party. Chairman Zheng Li-yuan said that if President Lai Ching-te wins re-election in 2028, China may stop seeking dialogue and could opt for war instead. He said that if Taiwan does not accept being a part of China, it will end up in a destructive war with China. The Kuomintang is now more openly pro-China, despite once fighting a civil war with the Chinese Communist Party before relocating to Taiwan. The group that once fiercely opposed the Communist Party now leads calls for cooperation and reconciliation with China, suggesting their core identity is being shaken, not just adjusting policy. A party that once opposed communism now appears to accept China's political demands, causing confusion in Taiwanese society. China is setting these conditions for calculated reasons. A military invasion against Taiwan would not only incur enormous war costs, but also require China to face the possibility of intervention by the United States and Japan, as well as strong sanctions from the international community as a whole. If they disrupt Taiwan's defense budget and create internal political conflict, they can weaken Taiwan's defense without violence. By focusing on laws and budgets, it seems they respect Taiwan's democracy, making international intervention harder. If the National Assembly blocks the budget and politics stall, the military can't prepare, causing deterrence to fail. China is focusing on making Taiwan lose both the justification and the capability to arm itself through this kind of gray zone strategy. In the end, what China wants is not war, but for Taiwan to become unable to resist. What China ultimately envisions is not the outbreak of war, but the moment when Taiwan loses its own reason to fight. If the defense budget is blocked due to political conflict, society becomes divided, and even trust with allies is shaken, then the will to defend naturally collapses even without guns and missiles. For China, it can approach its goal without deploying troops and without having to endure criticism from the international community. As Taiwan's resistance weakens and internal divisions grow, unification can seem like a choice instead of pressure. China's ideal scenario is for Taiwan to withdraw voluntarily, avoiding any need for military action. On top of that, Taiwan keeps making mistakes. They even provoked South Korea, which had been staying quiet, though it wasn't a military provocation. Taiwan asked South Korea to change how its name appears on Korea's electronic travel authorization form. In the basic information section where you enter your name, passport number, and other personal details, you can select your nationality as Taiwan. However, in the section where you enter your departure and destination, you can only choose China-Taiwan, and Taiwan has requested that this be changed. This has been labeled China-Taiwan since 2004 and remains so. This issue was never raised publicly before, so why now? Protests are actually growing. President Lai Ching-te stated that Taiwan and Korea have strong private and economic ties, and he hopes Korea respects the will of the Taiwanese people. It was rare and unprecedented for a Taiwanese president to publicly address an issue with Korea. There, the Taiwanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs mentioned the large trade deficit and even hinted at the possibility of an economic response. Both the Democratic Progressive Party and Kuomintang criticized the Korean government with puzzling actions. From Taiwan's view, it appears they were pressuring Korea, which remains neutral in the Japan-China conflict, to shift its stance. Given Korean diplomatic principles, such demands are unlikely to be well received. This is why the Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs maintained its principled stance and kept its distance. Conversely, this approach may reveal Taiwan's diplomatic anxiety and vulnerability. Messages ignoring neighbors' interests erode trust instead of fostering cooperation. Taiwan's situation is just sigh-worthy. We should unite and work with our allies to prepare for challenges, but instead, internal conflicts are growing and our diplomatic credibility is being undermined. As political clashes continue, China's pressure grows more sophisticated and the United States' patience is limited. Prolonged internal divisions will limit Taiwan's options and weaken its diplomatic influence. Going forward, Taiwan's direction will rely more on political stability than military strength. Share your thoughts in the comments. That's the end of the video. Thank you.